If a man is not physically gifted, are you less likely to let him cheat than the man who is physically gifted? So
I think a better way to phrase that would be, do women allow high value, high status men to break more rules? And do you guys make more rules for like dudes that are lower on the food chain?
We'll go around on that one. We'll go around. We'll start over here.
I don't think so. My standards are my standards. Like, I don't really care who you are. Like, you're gonna meet them or you're not.
I think that like high achieving men, I think they are almost like more able to like break more rules, just because like, I don't know, like a lot of women appreciate like the security that comes with like that, like high achieving men. So I think they're like a little scared to leave them. But like, I think when it comes to respect, like, no, I wouldn't respect like a high achieving man who cheated on me versus like a low achieving man.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I mean, like what kind of just came to my head right now would just be maybe like people like really good athletes or like celebrities or just really rich people maybe, because those people have higher statuses, right? And like, while that's cool and all, I definitely don't think that has anything to do with like what makes it okay if they cheat on you or not, because at the end of the day, they're a person and you have to realize that they're like a person. And if you're like dating them, then that kind of status I feel like wouldn't really have much of an effect on like the deep and intimate relationships that you would have. So I don't think that makes it okay if like a high status person does something wrong.
To be completely honest, I think that it's easy to definitely say that, and I wish it was like that. And I definitely think that, you know, personality is a really, really big factor, especially when you get into relationships. But I think the initial interaction girls will have with guy, like physical, like it is pretty important. Like I've heard multiple girls, I mean, especially guys, I'm sure do the same thing. They're like, oh, who's that girl? And you first go like, oh, can I see an Instagram picture of them? You know, it is normal for people to just go and judge based off of looks. You know, we can't deny that. I don't think anyone can deny that. So if you kind of mean like physically gifted, like, you know, I definitely think that initially people will tend to allow guys to break those rules. And I think it goes back to, you know, even the perception of like frats, like over here at UCSB, ATO kind of has this perception of going and being like, you know, really, really hot guys, you know, are in ATO. And then girls, even though they're aware of that, they still kind of go to those frats. And even though they know maybe those guys might not be like the best, they'll still go and like allow them to kind of break rules, at least initially. Of course, like once that happens and you experience that it does hurt, like that feeling of getting hurt, then you will go and say like, you know, when you get into like an intimate relationship, that's also when you want something more. And I kind of think it goes back to like that hookup culture where initially being like hooking up is like, it might seem fun, but like after a while, like it's just so unfulfilling. Just like, you know, being unfulfilled, like you want something more than just someone who's attractive, but you also want to get into a deeper level.
We have a clarifying super chat here from Edward Scornfield. No. Intrinsically, they want strong masculine men first. Forget the status. So I think Chase, yeah, he's
correcting me. He's correcting what I said.
He specifically does want to know about the strong masculine.
My apologies for thinking I was correcting what you said, Edward.
Well, I was thinking along the same lines of that's maybe this is his original one, a better way to get at the women's willingness to oh wait, this is not the original one. Sorry, hold on, it's this one. He's sending a lot. Thank you, Edward. Really appreciate it, man. So if a man is not physically gifted, are you less likely to let him cheat than the man who is physically gifted? I feel like you more often hear that less. I think you weren't wrong to ask that, though, because I think you more often see that coming from men with a lot of status. So like a famous athlete or musician or whatever. A guy who's, I suppose a guy who's in exceptionally good shape, he's going to be perceived as more attractive, so he could potentially get away with more. But,
I think like in college settings, like the alpha jock dudes are probably going to get away with a lot more rule breaking. Mm-hmm. But like out in the real world, those dudes like aren't as relevant to like women, like grown women. There's still a lot of chicks that go for them, but like in the real world, like of adults and stuff, like it's typically like the presidents and the billionaires and the professional athletes and the movie stars that are, you know, they've got a girlfriend or a wife and they have tons of affairs, and their girlfriend or wife just lets them get away with all of it, you know.
And that's like a good point that you make too. And it's like, you know, back to that like UCSB culture. So like over here, I definitely think UCSB is a bubble. Like Ivy is a bubble, you know, like if you
also let's just because we have viewers that aren't really in the area, I'd say let's maybe avoid the nuances of dating. And I know I asked that question initially, but I think overall, let's just try to keep things more general. Okay.
Yeah. So, so maybe like going back to like what I think that they went and perceived, or what that question actually entailed about like that strong masculinity, I would have to maybe say like it actually doesn't matter, because I think every single girl has like a type. Like I was very surprised, like going and finding out my friends' types, like for me, like, you know, I was like, or I was very surprised to find out some of my friends' types that was not what I perceived. Like every girl's attracted to something differently. That doesn't mean just because like you see in movies, girls are really, you know, attracted to just like very strong masculine guys. That's actually not true. Like some girls are attracted to like, you know, the exact opposite, or maybe
there's some women that are attracted to effete weak men.
Yes, actually, you would be surprised.
I mean, like the artsy chicks, like
like the skinny white guys. Like that's so many of my friends. It's a huge thing. It's like a trend right now. It's like
skinny white guys.
Skinny white guys.
Tall skinny white
guys.
Yes.
Skinny white my guys. God. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It's like a trend.
Though, like there was even a comment that said it was like, if you're handsome enough, they'll let you do it, and that is 100% true. And it goes both ways too, because I mean, you'll even see dudes that say, you know, even taking out looks away from it, like that are high value, where, you know, this chick could not have a lot going for her, but just very good looking, and dudes just like throwing themselves under the bus and like dropping tons of money on them, and they just like trample them and treat them like shit, and there's zero self-respect. No. I mean, it definitely goes both ways. There's no doubt in my mind that the more attractive that you are, the more physically fit you are, the more you can get away with. There's no debate about it.
Anthony. I don't know where I'm coming. Sorry, Edward Scornfield. Speaking of athletes.
I have a question for Hannah based on what she was saying a second ago.
Yes.
So you mentioned that women let the dudes at the ATO frat get away with breaking. You mentioned that women let them get away with breaking way more rules. Why is that?
I think it goes back to what you were saying, Tanner. Like it is like, you know, back what I was saying, like, I mean, everyone, like, I'm not going to generalize, but a lot of people will go and have like an initial judgment, and how you judge someone is by the first interaction you have them. And to be honest, if you're not talking to that person, it is going to be about their physical appearance. Like that's just like, you know, society has normalized that is normalized. And, you know,
is ATO like the most handsome frat? Is that what it is?
I don't know, but you have like that, you know, I'm now we're talking about like UCSB and generalizing, but like, if like you are at school, like a university, and you go and you have like, you know, Greek life at UCSB, Greek life isn't that big, but, or not as big as like in different schools, but, you know, there is like Greek ranking. And then like, you know, if you go and have the top frats, then you would maybe assume, but I mean,